My sister has 5 children. It's wrong to put military in this to be caught in the line of fire. Why can't the mayors of each state come together? That's actually part of what we were talking about tonight. Um, so we got a couple things I'm gonna touch on really quick. And like I said, this is not gonna be a long live. Oh, that's what I was supposed to be doing. Let me write this number in here real quick. So we're looking at everything that's going on, and me and the person that I was talking to, like I said, they're in the military. Um, I act in some type of law enforcement capacity. So we were having a conversation about how things were going and how, you know, certain situations should be handled. Our chief of police did well. He stood in the gap and brought peace. And like really finding yourself in uncomfortable situations. Hey Casey, how you doing? How you doing? Um, we you find yourself in a difficult situation, and I kind of touched on this the other night. Um, when you get called to do a job and you don't necessarily, well, not necessarily, you don't agree with the job that you're being called out to do. Um, like how uncomfortable that situation is, right? And this is something that myself and other person were talking about. Okay, on top of that, there was something that I noticed about this whole thing that I wanted to talk about, and just to get you guys takes on it, because sometimes I might overlook or overthink things. Um, but when I looked at this whole thing overall, and I said something that may have seemed like it was off, people look at you kind of crazy, but I'm thinking that although George Floyd lost his life, it definitely wasn't in vain. Hey Charlene, how you doing? It definitely wasn't in vain. It wasn't. I feel like certain things had to happen in order for other things to take place. And I say that because when I was walking this morning, I was thinking about the irony of everything. And you're welcome. I was thinking about the irony of everything, and I need y'all to listen to what I'm saying. And I know sometimes people be like, "Oh, you speaking riddles and hyperboles." No, that's not what it is. It's something that I do. That epiphany moment. So you look at this former cop now killing this black man by putting his knee in his neck for an extended period of time, right? So when I'm walking this morning, this thing really hit me like this is not what people think it is. This is not just about this man killing this black man. It's not about him being a police. It's not about that. The sole purpose of this was to get the nation's attention. And certain things had to happen in order for this to take place. Now I need y'all to follow me on this for a minute. For the last couple of years, we had, let me take it back even further than that. We know that racism, people having certain prejudices, this has been going on since all of us were here. It's been going on since, it's been going on since it's been going on. And then, you had the civil rights movement, you had like all these eras, when people were fighting for certain things, and it's like you might have touched something, but it never really took care of the problem. Like the civil rights movement set some things in motion. Absolutely. And then we go through this moment of, I'm going to say, complacency. and we feel like we got somewhere, right? And so, we start getting kind of comfortable. I don't. They did work together. They did work together, but we still don't know if they knew each other. You get to a certain level of comfort, and you stop fighting as hard as you were fighting before, because it's almost like we feel like, oh, well, we made it. We're able to do this. We're able to do that. So again, we get complacent. So I was looking at what happened after us going year after year after year after year, and even the conversations about racism have toned down some over the years because we've been allowed to do certain things. We've been given access to certain opportunities. So the conversation starts to change a little bit. And then we've had, over the years, the last few years, you got your Trayvon, you got your Tamir, you got your Mike Browns, you got your Eric Gardner, you got all this stuff going on, and still we have some moments of outrage, and then we go back to being quiet again. Like, this is our history, right? This is our history. And then we go, and these people, like, died violently. And when I say violently, I'm not saying the knee isn't violently, but when you think about gunshots and all that stuff, now we get here to George. And even before George, you had Ahmaud Arbery. I mean, we saw what happened. Even though this guy that killed him wasn't a current cop, he was a former cop, right? So it still kind of goes back to that same environment. You have Breonna Taylor getting killed by the police officers. So when you look at this stuff, even though those two things happened, I think it was intentional. And this is what I'm trying to get y'all to see. It was intentional that all this coronavirus stuff was going on, and the stuff didn't make national headlines. So locally people knew about it, but nationally and internationally, we didn't know anything about it until things started to calm down. Then we start finding out about it. But it's not the same rage that I think we would have had we known about it right when it happened. So now we got this stuff that happens with George Floyd on Memorial Day. And for some reason, it struck a nerve. Now, these are at least 3 situations that have happened recently. But the George Floyd death, it struck a nerve. And it wasn't that they had to do anything like major to try to kill him. He put a knee in his neck. Now, this is where I'm going with this. We go back to Colin Kaepernick. The last couple years, they ostracized him. The NFL completely turned their back on him. People turned their backs on him. You got your president saying that, people that go and kneel at the games, they're SOBs. You have all these NFL fans that are sitting there saying, we want our money back. We want our refund back for our season tickets. These guys doing this kneeling is messing up the football season. That's not what we paid for. We didn't pay to see them kneel, even though that took place before the game ever started. We had this back and forth thing about, oh, he's being disrespectful and they're being disrespectful. You had the guy from the military come in and say, you know what? I understand your plight. I understand what you're trying to say. So in order for you to not, or in order for people to feel that you're not disrespecting the military, instead of you sitting down during this, why don't you take a knee as a sign of respect? So you taking that knee as a sign of respect for the military, that means something. Because that's a sign of needing a break. It's a sign of respect. It's a sign of if they lose one of their comrades or whatever, they might take a knee as a sign of respect. It means something. But ultimately, if I take a knee, I'm doing that in respect of something. Now I need y'all to come with me on this journey right here. So this is where I'm going. Whenever you had that peaceful knee, people got called SOBs. This was This was an unpeaceful assembly by taking the knee, right? So now you have this stuff that happened with George Floyd. The same people that were complaining about Kaepernick taking a knee are the same people that are being forced to take a knee now. You feel what I'm saying? The same people that had an issue with him before that game started, getting on his knee and putting his fist in the air as his way of fighting against not even police brutality, just injustices with the police department and black men, injustices with the justice system and black men. Now the same police, the same people in that justice system, the same people that had a problem with that knee, they have no choice but to take a knee. So now you're being forced. It ain't even that you want to do it. You're being forced. You don't have a choice. It ain't even your choice right now. You are being forced to not only take a knee, you are being forced to acknowledge openly the injustices that have been going on for centuries. And not just going on by law enforcement, the injustices that been going on in this country for years, whether it's on the job, whether it's out in the community, in a grocery store, it don't matter where it is, you are being forced. And I'm telling y'all that this stuff is so intentional, it was meant for everybody to see it. It was meant for us to hear this man saying, I can't breathe, and calling on his mama. It was meant to happen exactly the way that it did, because that's the only way that America will wake up. That's the only way. And that's why I keep saying the worst thing you could have done was wake up a nation. Now I'm going to take y'all somewhere else with this. My. The same stance that Colin Kaepernick took to show his frustration, his anger, his hurt with what was being done with black men, and in this particular situation, it was some stuff that had happened, and he was taking his stance by putting that knee down about, addressing law enforcement and what they were doing. Let me tell y'all something. If y'all don't want to hear me say God for a minute, close your ears. But let me tell you how God works. That same stance that Colin Kaepernick took to show what was being done to black men with the police, I want y'all to see how God fixed stuff. That same stance, that same knee, that same kneeling is the one thing that the cop, that Colin Kaepernick, the cops that he was frustrated with, these same cops used that same stance to kill this man. And that stance, that kneeling that you didn't want to recognize before, that kneeling has awakened a nation. Now feel me on this. Now again, you kneel for people as a sign of respect. So you can play this game if you want to. You did this stuff to this man because you knew he was a king. You didn't have any choice but to respect him. That's why you were kneeling. The other part had to come along so that these injustices could come out and be shown in the public. Because what we are seeing right now, it's not that some people are indifferent to it. Don't get me wrong. Some people are indifferent to it. But that's not how some people grew up. Some people are just oblivious to certain things. And it took for this stuff to be done in your face in a manner that would get your freaking attention. So for some reason, Kaepernick kneeling at these games was so much of a distraction to you that you couldn't even pay attention to the game. You couldn't pay attention. It wasn't even kickoff yet, and you feel like the whole game has been disrupted because he's kneeling before this game. You don't want to see nobody else kneeling. You don't want to see the black players, the white players, the Hispanic players, the Asian players, the darn Pacific Islander players, whoever we had up there. You did not want to see them kneeling. You did not want this attention drawn to these injustices that were going on. So this man said, I'm going to have to give you a kneel that you're going to pay attention to. Since this kneel right here bothers you so much, let me put it on this man and see how it looked to you. He didn't put a hand on him. There wasn't a bullet shot, no knives, no nothing, just a knee. Now you tell me there's not something that is spiritual about this thing. I'm saying it's ironic, but I need you to understand what's going on. He had his hands in his pockets because he was a coward. When you see Kaepernick and all these other people kneeling, they're kneeling with confidence. Their chests are stuck out. They're up in the air. You can tell they're making a statement. This joker kneeled just as cowardly as he could. Wouldn't even look up at the people that was calling him out. He was looking down at this man, hands in his pockets. You're taking that knee. People usually kneel. They're tired. They're tired, and it gives you a way to take that whole weight off yourself and put it down for a minute. You can take the weight off one side and you can readjust, reposition yourself. We saw this man repositioning, y'all. We saw him reposition. That repositioning is what got him these charges. We have the proverbial get your foot off my neck. No, it wasn't a foot. This time, it was that knee. He had to kneel. You kneeling down because you're taking the life, the physical life out of somebody. But you didn't know that somebody that you felt like you were taking down, you didn't know that you were going to awake all these kings. And when I say kings, I ain't just talking about the black kings. You didn't realize that you were going to awaken all these kings with that same kneel that got under your skin. Every time a football game came on, every time your little man came on the screen and had something to say, and everybody, yeah, get him off the field. And all these commissioners and all this, like following along with this stuff. At some point, this man will bring you down to your knees in order to get you to see what's going on. And that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm seeing right now. You thought what you were doing was hurting somebody? And I'm going to say this because I know his family is hurting, and I know that the nation is hurting behind this stuff. But we realize that at some point in this life that we all going to have to go. It's just something to be able to leave here as a martyr. Do you hear what I'm saying? For your life to have a flipping purpose. This was this man's purpose. To bring all these people together. I can't see anything in my whole lifetime. I haven't seen anything that has brought this country together. And yes, you're always going to have little outliers. You'll always have them. You'll always have these little distractions and stuff that take place. And you're going to have rebellious people that just refuse to get along with what's going on. They just not going for it. But at the end of the day, this one right here, they didn't have any say-so in. None. None. At no point in the history of this nation have we had so many leaders, be it political, community, church, government, no matter leaders all over the place, at no point in history have we ever had these leaders coming out and actually acknowledging the fact that racism exists. Been overlooking it all this time. It was just a figment of our imagination. It even got to the point where even black people were saying it didn't exist because we felt like we made it. And now we have this one situation. People have been dying every day. But this. We already had somebody that died and said that they couldn't breathe. That still didn't bring the nation together. But this. That knee. Woo. Y'all better know something. It's that knee. It's something about that knee. We sit here, and I was telling y'all, I felt like there was something different about this. This is being done for a reason. I've been feeling that way the whole time. And that's why I was so confident that this man was going to get locked up. And that's why I'm confident that these other people are going to get locked up. When have you ever seen the nation move like this? You getting cops locked up for falsely arresting people. You getting people locked up for filing false police reports. You getting cops not only getting fired, but fired and locked up for behaving inappropriately. Y'all, we got some stuff going on. This doesn't happen. But for that knee. But for that knee. And you know that it was a special situation because that man knew that George no longer had an ounce of life in his body. And I'm pretty sure that his mind in here, it was saying, get up. You already killed him. He's gone. He couldn't get up. Couldn't get up if he wanted to. He couldn't. That's what I'm seeing. These things had to take place in order for us to be where we are today. And I'm saying this at, I'm telling y'all, it's something different. It's something different. There is something different. If you look on Tao's face, the little short guy that was at the front that was acting like security, if you look at Chauvin's face, neither one of them had an ounce of emotion in their faces because they didn't even realize the situation that they were going in. They didn't know that they were supposed to be here for such a time as this so that people would realize what has been going on for years. You can no longer deny it. You cannot deny it. And I never thought that I would see the day that so many people will be walking around. You have more Caucasian people walking around here holding a Black Lives Matter sign than the darn black people that are out there at such a time as this. So we were supposed to be woke up during this moment. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's not about a slap on the wrist. There is no slap on the wrist for this. That's what I'm trying to tell you. We have to get outside. A lot of times we get in our own way. You have to realize when a shift is happening. This is a shift. When have you ever seen somebody get locked up, a cop get locked up that fast? And when the family says that they're not comfortable with the prosecutor that's going to be prosecuting the case, then the governor steps in and said, you know what? I feel your pain. I empathize with you. Let me give you this guy. and puts a black guy on the case. A guy that had already made complaints and was already putting the darn spotlight on the police department for inappropriate behavior. And you put him on the case? And just as soon as he can get his hands on it, now you got a full-fledged civil rights investigation into the whole police department. Now, what you think is about to happen? People are holding people accountable, not because they want to, but because they don't have a choice. This is the shift. When you talk about that shondo, this is the shondo that we've been waiting on. This is the shift. Now, we usually don't see stuff happen overnight. Right now, we don't even have to wait until overnight. This doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. You got the cops that got fired the other night from when the black businessman got shot, and none of them had their body cams on. The mayor steps in and fires the chief. You have the cops that mess with these college students in the car, beating on their car, tasing folks, pulling them out the car. They got arrested immediately. And now they are facing charges, y'all. This has never happened in the history of the United States of America. In the history of the Estados Unidos, this has never happened. Ever. This is a shift. And when you can get those police officers to kneel down in a crowd of hundreds and thousands, even though they have other officers behind them that are still standing, that's not protocol. That's not safe. But a lot of them understand just how important this moment is. And it gives them an opportunity to show, look, I'm not with this mess either. This has been a long time coming. It has been a long time coming. What we saw yesterday is just like whenever stuff starts happening and somebody want to talk about the rebellion is coming from, man, listen. The rebellion is coming from the person that did the news conference yesterday and went and did the photo op in front of the church. That's where the rebellion is coming from, because he sees what's going on with this nation right now. And this he has no control over. That's why it's being considered anarchy. You have no control over this. These people are like, we're not listening to you. And so you try to inflict some type of pain by trying to call on the military and bring them in. You are trying to force the military to fight against the very people that they swore they were going to protect, the country that they're out here fighting for. You want them to come in and ignite fear amongst their allies. That's what you're asking them to do. The police aren't doing it the way that you want them to do it, because too many of them are backing down and trying to give people a little leeway so that they can go ahead and voice their opinions. So you call the military in. Instead of them handling stuff internationally like they're supposed to be doing, you're calling them in on a domestic matter that has nothing to do with them and putting them in a situation where they cannot be effective. You're basically calling them in to babysit a bunch of grown folks because they're not doing what you want them to do. These men, these women, when they signed up, to go into the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, darn public health services, the Peace Corps, whatever they signed up for. When they signed up for that, they go out and they not only fight for our freedoms as a country, they fight for our individual freedoms. And you want them to come and get involved in this mess, knowing that most of them don't agree with what you're doing anyway. I looked at some of those officers' faces yesterday outside of their White House, and they look so uncomfortable. And I'm sitting here saying, you know what? I know it sucks to be you right now. And we're sitting here. And it doesn't matter what military forces you call in. That's not going to erase the fact that this man took a knee. And he took a knee on George Floyd's neck. And it happened on that person's watch because he was the one that made the big issue out of somebody taking a knee. So it's that same knee that you had so much to say about that is causing all this chaos for you. And it's going to cause even more chaos for you months down the road. So it had to happen right now at such a time as this, because people were starting to get a little, they didn't really have their minds where they needed to be. So when those fall months started rolling in, a lot of people would still be walking around blindly, not really understanding what's going on. Even though you say stuff out of your own mouth, people still have a way of hearing it the way that you want them to hear it instead of the way that it's actually being said, right? We are in June right now. November is just a few months away. Do y'all think this stuff just happened right now by happenstance? The person that is in charge refuses to step up. But we have past leaders that have stepped up and acknowledged what was going on. We have somebody that hasn't even been elected. Well, he was a vice, but he hasn't even been elected as a leader as of yet, and we don't know if he will be elected. But he's taking the lead. He's doing the things that this person isn't willing to do. Not unable to do, unwilling to do. So if you think this knee was accidental, there was nothing accidental about it. The same thing that you sat up here, and even y'all is so, even the economy, you're bragging, boast about the economy and how good the businesses are doing, and the employment rate is where is the employment rate at now? How are the businesses doing in the midst of all this looting and rioting and all these shenanigans that were self-inflicted? These are self-inflicted wounds. So everything that hateful people have decided to stand on, the same things that they have tried to use to hold people down, people that they see as inferior to them, these are the same things that are coming back to bite them in the behind in a royal way, in a major way. Major. This is crazy, y'all. This is crazy. So I was having a conversation earlier, and I'm going to try to see if I can get the person on the phone. I was having a conversation earlier, and we were talking about all the stuff that's happening and the looting and all that stuff. And same thing I told you guys, we both agree, like, we down for the cause and all that stuff. But I'm not gonna stand by and just let somebody rob me blind in the midst of all of this. I'm not gonna let this be an excuse because I understand that there's a bigger picture. There's a huge, like, so much stuff is going on right now. So many things are changing. Like, people don't even understand right now. A lot of people are taking advantage of the situation and trying to get what they can get. But because they're taking it in a negative way and under false pretenses, whatever they got, they're not going to be able to keep because it wasn't meant for them to have. If that makes sense. So having to go out there and put your life on the line, and you're putting your life on the line because these people are upset and they're attacking police. Now you got people, they're even attacking the military guys that are out there, and all these people came to do was do a job. Like, that's it. So we're having a conversation about how does that look to have to go out there and do a job that you're being forced to do, and you don't agree with it. And then you find yourself in a place where you have to defend yourself. And it's trying to balance these things. And I'm thinking that whenever we have to go through change, it's never comfortable. We get put into some uncomfortable situations in order for us to get where we need to be. That's what we are seeing right now. Right now. Now I'm going to try to do something really quick. Lord have mercy. I don't know if they're going to answer the phone. They were a little skeptical, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this really quick, see if I can get them on here. Are you still taking shelter? Hmm? Okay, hold up. I'm going to put you on speakerphone. Okay, so I have this person on the phone, and we are going to refer to him as Doc. That's his name. Um, Doc, tell us. I know you can't tell us about what you do, but what's your? I told them that I was talking to someone that was in the military, and we were having a conversation about some of the stuff that was going on. Um, some of the and I won't say anything about where you're based or anything like that, but you've seen officers that had to go out or be deployed to some of these riots and stuff like that.
I have.
So, what's your take on that? Having to actually go out and be involved in battle and all that stuff. What's your take on this whole thing with the military being called in to help calm down some of this stuff that's going on?
Well, from the military perspective, it is our job and our mission to protect the country as a whole, and that entails being trained to kill versus the police aspect of being trained to de escalate and detain. So, from that aspect, it kind of puts a different dynamic, especially when you have those soldiers that have to go and deal with these things after they've been deployed and been in situations. So now they have PTSD and they have that shorter fuse to where they want to react when approached or enticed by violent situations.
Mm.
So it could make things more dangerous or worse in those aspects because it would be much easier for someone to get hurt if they entice the wrong people. and it won't be a situation where you can jump on one military member, because if you jump on one, everybody's jumping in at that point. Unless it's something egregiously done by that military member, but that will be taken care of by other military members, not by someone on the outside.
So you guys basically police yourselves if there's something going on that's not right, that's inappropriate.
We try to, for the most part.
So, like I said, I know that you've had several deployments and you've been out there, you've seen some things. Um, how might someone respond? Because you mentioned PTSD. So, how might somebody respond as a military person if you're out on a deployment and you're, in a on the battlefield basically, and somebody's approaching you with a weapon? How does a military person um, how do you make that switch from going to, at this point, kill or be killed when you're out here in war versus being in this situation where it's almost like a civil war and you have somebody coming at you? How do you make that switch that they're asking you to do right now when, like you said, you've been trained to kill? How do you make that switch?
For some, it'll be extremely difficult. For others, it'll be more so trying to think of it as being home. So when you're home, you'll have a little more control versus being deployed. But there's still the aspect of you not wanting to be surprised with something of a life-threatening, a life-altering situation, because it's going to revert you to what you know and what your muscle memory is. Your muscle memory is to defend yourself by any means necessary.
Mm.
Because at the end of the day, we just want to make it back home.
Right. There was something that you said to me before I actually went on my live. There was a statement that you made, and I thought that it was profound actually. Um, do you care to repeat that statement?
The statement that was made was, as an African American soldier, I feel safer on deployments than I do in the States. I say that because while I'm deployed, I'm actually allotted the chance to defend myself when someone's in possession of a weapon or trying to hurt me, versus being in the States when I just have to sit here and take it. It'd be an automatic lose-lose situation. If I defend myself, I'm wrong. If I give the same type of effort or malice intent that's being put towards me, then I'm wrong. So either I'm going to be killed or I'll be put in jail. So there is no win-win for me over here. At least over there, if I do what I gotta do, at least I can make it home.
Wow. So we were having a conversation about racism, and particularly systemic racism, and conversations that we were having with different people, and some people still feeling like it doesn't exist. Um, as a military person, a military man, um, people think with all the diversity and stuff that's in the military that, racism is something that you guys don't have to deal with. You don't encounter those things. Of course. Are you laughing?
I
am. So, what made you chuckle at that statement?
Even within the military, there's still those people that have racist tendencies and that are blatantly racist. I've had situations where I've been called nigger, and I've had other situations happen as well, being kicked out of restaurants while people of a different race use profound language, but they wanted me to leave so the problem wouldn't escalate.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's still within the military, but it's one of those things where you try to handle it as much as you can in-house
Mm-hmm.
and to deal with it in-house. Some people get put out. Some people it leads to physical altercations, and some people it goes past that. So it's all depending on the situation, what you're willing to fight for, and what you're going to stick your neck out for. But it's still there in the military as well. And it's even more prevalent when you're in the military and you have to deal with it in there and from the civilian population.
Mm.
Because they'll attack you more because they know it's only so much you can do
Right.
due to having an answer to so many people.
Right. Right. Now, someone has a question for you. I know the answer for it, but I'm going to answer it because one of the viewers asked the question. Um, and I'm gonna tell you, you can answer it or don't answer it. Okay. They want to know if you've ever had to kill someone.
I do whatever I need to do to get home
That
and to
answers.
get my people home.
That answers that question. Um, I can. Someone on here is saying, this is why he needs to stop. Trump needs to stop because a lot of these soldiers have PTSD. Some of them are ready to kill themselves so they can care less about offing a target. I counted 88 suicides at my last duty station alone. Um, I know that's something that the military has been dealing with outside of just the regular, you know, mundane stuff that happens day to day. You know, put all that stuff aside. I know that there are a high number of suicide rates in the military. What do you think are some of the contributing factors to that, and how might situations like this um, aggravate those factors?
Um, well, everything is pretty much a factor. You have family life, you have society, you have politics that play a large role in some cases. So it's pretty much everything that someone outside of the military has to deal with that will cause it are the same issues. But when it comes to the military, a lot of those are magnified, especially when you're away from home and you can't take care of home.
Right. So you're dealing with the stuff that you have to deal with, not just in the United States, but you're dealing with issues in other countries, other continents, um, and then you're also having to deal with what's going on the home front. How
Well,
do Go
I'll
ahead.
give you an example. When the government shutdowns happen and all those things occur, you see mostly and initially it hits government members first,
Mm-hmm.
i.e., soldiers. If you're in a foreign country fighting a war, you're getting shot at with bullets, missiles, bombs, and what say you, your family's still in the States. If you have a stay-at-home wife taking care of your kids and you're in a whole nother country and you're not getting paid, Wells Fargo is not going to say, hey, get it to us when you can. They're going to want their money at the first of the month like everybody else. Bills still have to be paid.
Right.
So a lot of times people have to band together and go into their savings accounts to give to other people so their families can survive at home.
Mm.
And from a male perspective and some female perspectives, being a breadwinner is what they do. And if they feel like they can't take care of their family, they feel helpless.
Right.
And when you get to a helpless state and you're sitting there with all of these weapons and things going on around you, it's not hard for your mind to creep other places, especially when you get into a routine where every day runs into another day.
Right. One of the things that that organization that I'm in, they suggested that for police officers that they before someone is allowed to be a police officer, before they're allowed to carry a weapon, they think it's a good idea for them to have to undergo psychological testing and psychological evaluation. Is that something that is required in the military?
It's something that they look at before you come in,
Mm-hmm.
and something that's continually checked. But I mean, all of those things can be bypassed. You can just say the right words at the right time, and you'll be able to get by, just like in the law enforcement realm.
Right.
So it's not easy to circumvent the system, so to speak, for those people that have those issues.
And how concerned, in your opinion, how concerned is the military in ensuring that you guys are mentally healthy?
Well,
With dealing with all the things that y'all have to deal with.
there is mental health available while we're in. Some might say it's not enough. Some say it is, but it's an interesting thing, because if there are certain things within your records, it can hold you back from doing other broadening things in your career. So a lot of people don't talk about it because they don't want to hinder their career in any way, shape, or form. And they just try to find other ways to deal with it.
So let me make sure I'm getting what you're saying. So let's just say, like somebody did have PTSD. Along with that PTSD comes a certain level of anxiety. So there's usually an anxiety disorder that comes along with that. So if I was trying to put in for a certain, I'm gonna call it a position, or if I wanted to try to get to another, you know, rank or whatever, then them knowing that I have to deal with this is something that they could possibly try to use against me, especially like in handling specific situations, whether or not I'll be mentally capable of handling those situations. Am I understanding that wrong? Now I'm trying to.
I get what you're saying. It's possible that they could stop you from putting in for trying to get that position due to you having some underlining things,
Mm-hmm.
because you could be put into a position where instead of being in charge of a few people, you're in charge of a whole unit.
Right.
And if you have a large amount of PTSD or on a heavy scale of it, your mind can slip, and then you can tell a whole unit that whatever it is, go out and do it, and you'll cover it up for them, which would be the wrong answer.
Right.
And it can just lead to a lot of people getting hurt.
Right.
But I mean, not all cases are like that, but some things can disqualify you from going to different positions or ranks or things of that nature. But it's all
So
depending.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That was it.
So in some ways, the military is also like law enforcement. You're still under the same government either way, but you're told that people are not able to discriminate against you based on certain disabilities. But whenever it comes to working in a certain position or being, having a certain rank, certain pay grade, whatever, GS, ES, whatever, your system is, it seems like there is leeway for them to discriminate.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Because I mean, it's something that it'll identify you, but if you can kind of get your point across as to why a situation is the way that it is, and you can actually back it up, and it after evaluations, it can be proven or seen that what you're saying makes sense, then you can get through.
Okay.
Because when even on the outside in the civilian world, you can tell if someone has a severe issue or not, and you're not just gonna let them go through it doing something that they don't need to do.
Okay. So since we're talking about systemic racism, you and I have had different conversations. I won't go into those conversations, but we've had different conversations about things that we've had to encounter working in different systems. Um, Even though they're two completely different, separate entities, they still kind of function a lot alike. You would think that whenever you get to a certain level and working under a certain system, um, you would think that that racism is no longer there. It doesn't exist or it shouldn't exist. But when it comes to career advancements and different opportunities, um, do you feel that we are equal in that aspect? Do you think there's still um, that race is still a factor when it comes to that when you're working under um, this federal government?
Sometimes race is a factor because sometimes you'll run into situations where to get that higher rank you need someone, and a lot of the people at the top are kind of one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
So if they have something against a particular set of people, they they'll make it harder, or they could make it harder for them to get ahead. I've run across a couple of people with more rank than me that told me of racial issues that they had, that they kind of had to swallow their tongue and sit on their hands due to someone being of much higher rank than them, and they were just trying to get promoted, so they didn't say anything. They just allowed it. Some said something offline to try to get their point across, but some just took it.
Mm. So basically, you may find yourself having to bow down in order to be able to get into certain positions.
It's all based on a person. Some people will bow down and it'll be looked upon a certain type of way. Some people will speak up and it'll be looked at a certain type of way. It's all depending on who that person is that you're trying to get the point across to. Because some people will see it as you standing up for yourself. That's the kind of leader that they want. And some people will see you as, okay, you're the stepping stool that I want to continue to have right here. So I need you to progress, to continue to be that person that I need right here, that token person.
Okay, so with that being said, you've been in the position where you've had people that I don't want to say under you, but people that you had that you were responsible for.
Yes.
So when it comes to trying to advance in this system, knowing some of the factors that come into play, knowing that there are some things that we are still trying to overcome. If you have someone come to you asking you for guidance, um, how do you advise that person? I would say subordinate, but I don't know if it's considered a subordinate in the military. But how do
It's
you?
subordinate.
It's still a subordinate.
Yes.
How do you advise that person on moving forward or trying to advance, um, knowing some of the obstacles that we still have to face just as a race? How do you advise those people that you are responsible for?
Me personally, when it comes down to different races, I advise everyone the same. I
Mm-hmm.
give and treat all my subordinates and soldiers the same. I train them all the same. I trained them that if I wasn't there, if something happened to me, they would be able to carry on the mission without any fall off or anything like that. When it comes to addressing the different aspects that soldiers bring to me due to their race or sexuality, I'm honest. I'm honest. I'll let them know what to expect. I'll let them know the avenues in which they could take if something were to happen and someone says something out of line to them. But I don't try to sugarcoat anything and I keep it straightforward.
I know you're gonna tell me. No, I'm gonna ask you anyway. This is my question. Are you allowed to tell the viewers anything? Um, Not where you are, not exactly what you do, but like what's kind of your role or um,
Mm, I work in intelligence. I work with special forces.
what is special forces?
A lot of the stuff you see in the movies.
So, you've seen some things.
I have.
Whenever you go to, whenever you go to different countries, you go to different continents. Do you still see the type of racism that we see here? Do you see that in other places? Not within the United States, because I know you've seen it in the United States, but do you see that in other places?
Well, in other places, you can see that they kind of, sometimes you'll see them act differently towards a particular group. But it's all depending on where you are, because a lot of the places, the corruption is more visible.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of have more leeway with things that they do and people that they'll bother due to, certain things running the country, i.e., drugs and money and things of that nature.
Okay.
So you're not really on a fool with someone that's financing you or putting you in power,
Okay.
but you'll still see some situations where the police act differently towards a particular group or a situation. But the police also are more visible in other countries versus here.
When you're in other countries, do you ever feel like you, as a black man, not even put the military aside, but as a black man, do you ever feel like you're ever appreciated more in other countries?
In some countries, it feels like you be appreciated more. Some countries they're just scared of you more.
Mm. What do you think causes that fear?
Perceptions, perceptions, and just the genetic makeup sometimes. Because some of the countries that I've been in, just the sheer size difference made some people uneasy, and it made them nervous.
What do you mean size difference? I mean, are you like 5'10" or something? Um,
I think I'm an average size, a little on the heavier side.
Whatever. Um, I know, and I'm not gonna hold you on here because you told me you're only gonna give me 20 minutes. I done got you for 28. Eh.
Actually, I told you two,
That's what I
but
meant. 2 minutes. Yeah, so I got you for
but
28.
but doctor, you know you are hard of listening.
um, I know that you were in a different part of this country some months ago. And I hear you laughing already. And you had a special, actually, a couple special experiences. But since we're talking about this race thing and all this race stuff is going on right now, do you care to share that story without, I don't know if you can let people know where you were, but you can kind of let them know that area so they can understand the dynamics of what happened there.
There are many stories. I'm not sure which particular story you were inferring about.
Um, the people that weren't used to seeing someone of your persuasion.
Well, I was in a state further out west, looking at the demographics of the area. It should have been maybe 200 black people within a county or two.
Mm.
I had a situation where the movie Us had just came out.
Us?
I mean, yes,
Okay.
you know, a predominantly black cast, black director, yada yada yada. Me and a co-worker of mine went to the movie. We had a running bet that we were actually counting how many black people we saw while we were there. We were there for 2 months and we got up to 7, including me.
Wait a minute. In 2 months, y'all only saw 7 black people, and you were included in that 7.
Yes. While going to the movie theater to see Us, it was sold out. And in the movie theater, I was the only black person in the entire movie theater.
So you were the spot.
Well, actually, it was more like a smooth dot. You know, I'm not black. I'm Reese's Cup brown, so it's a smooth. Then there was another situation at Chick-fil-A with the same coworker. We were in uniform.
Now, can I ask, was this coworker black also?
No,
Okay.
I was the only one.
Okay.
One of a kind.
Mm.
Last of the Mohicans, if you must. But at Chick-fil-A, there was a mother and a child.
Mm-hmm.
The child was maybe somewhere between 4 and 6. And the child turned to the parent and asked, why was I the same color as my uniform?
Say what now? Say what?
Excuse me, I can't understand your country dialect.
the child asked what now? Say what?
The child asked the parent, why was I the same color as my uniform? So in turn, the parent turned red and she immediately exited without even ordering any food.
Oh wow. So she didn't say I'm sorry or like don't say that, or don't, like, she didn't say anything to the child or to you, or?
No, she just grabbed the child and walked out. I guess she was embarrassed.
And how did you take the, kids are innocent, but I mean, how did how did you respond to that? What were your thoughts?
It was the best laugh that I had all day.
And may I ask, which uniform were you wearing for you to be the same color as your uniform?
Uh, my uniform is brown and green. A lightly colored Reese's brown and green camouflage pattern. OCPs, if you must.
Okay, so you had to make sure that you honed in on the Reese's Brown since the little boy said that you were the same color as your uniform.
Well, I'm trying to help you out. You know, I'm very proud of my milky complexion.
um, and I know you got to go because there's something. Well, y'all not working anyway, but anyway, um,
And working, thank you very much.
there, we talked about the kneeling, and when I first came on my live, I was talking about how I perceive the kneeling with Colin Kaepernick and the stuff that the
Colin?
officer, huh?
Colin?
Him, yeah.
Wow, you
Don't
really
correct me
just.
on my live, please.
Oh, no,
Um,
no. I cannot let you call a grown man Colin.
Colin, I'm sorry, Colin. Uh,
Bless your heart.
um, you about to make me lose my question now. So with him, we were talking about the kneeling and then the officer. First, before I get into that, what's your take? How do you feel about the situation with George Floyd?
In what aspect are you asking overall?
Just overall, what's your take? Because I saw something that was posted today, and I know when stuff like this happens, we usually have discussions and give our takes on what we feel. Um, what's your take on the whole thing, and how you think it's affecting people right now?
Overall, I feel it's a tragedy. Hopefully, now that since it's another situation that no one can kind of argue against, that people actually pay attention that these issues still exist. It brings about another uneasy conversation that's going to change the dynamics of how a lot of people are think of the next person and such. But I think that it's a issue from all sides
Mm-hmm.
because black people aren't exempt because it's where was all this care and this love for this man or the next black man or black woman while they're alive? Why
Oh
doesn't
wow.
anyone care enough to want to make a change before somebody has to die?
Mm.
So if you won't stand up for someone while they're alive, why have so much to say after they die?
That's true. That's true.
So it's not just a one-sided problem, it's a problem on both sides.
So basically, you're saying that we need to be standing up for each other, not just when this stuff goes on. We need to be standing up and looking out for each other and whatever, whether something's happened or not, before it ever gets to this point.
When we've been down this road countless times within the last few years,
Right.
you'll see people protest and cause a big storm for a couple of days, and then after that couple of days pass, everyone stops talking about it and they don't care about it anymore.
Right.
That doesn't really seem real to me, it seems fake. So if if you're not going to be consistent and actually try to make a change, what are you really trying to do right now except for gain attention?
Mm.
That's going to be empty attention when you don't do anything with it.
Wow. True story. I got a question for you real quick from one of the viewers. They said ask him, do those around him, those that you work with, appear numb to the situation, or do they act as if it's the norm, or are they outraged as well?
There are some that are outraged, some that are confused and don't really know what to think. And then there are some that are kind of still in disbelief because they don't, it's not like they don't know racism exists. They've never experienced it or had to see or deal with it. So it's hard for them to comprehend that things are the way that they are. So I guess it's more of a ignorance of not knowing and not seeing. But I mean, there are a lot of people that have friends of different races, and they're starting to see things being posted and the support that's being showed, and it's making people uneasy.
Right.
They don't know exactly what to say or how to do. Like even going into stores now, I get different looks and different reactions from other races as if they don't know whether to be scared something is about to happen, or they're trying to be over supportive to where it's not genuine.
Mm.
So it just varies. But it's there, and you'll see people kind of reaching at straws to find a lane because they don't want to say the wrong thing.
Right. Almost like they walking around on eggshells.
Pretty much.
Hmm. You said that a lot of people like they don't see it. Some people are confused. My question to you is your honest opinion. I don't want a politically correct answer. Do you
I'm not a politician.
do you think that some of these people that you have come in contact with, some of the people that you know, some of the people that you've served with, do you think it's that they don't see it and it's just just an innocent ignorance to it, or do you feel like they don't want to see it?
It goes both ways depending on where you're from. I had one soldier from California. As we were going through Atlanta, there's a MLK billboard, I guess, within the airport. It
Mm.
has America's pain is a Negro's shame.
Mm.
And seeing that was the first time she was kind of exposed to anything like that, and it kind of made her distraught because she had never seen it, so she didn't know. She couldn't put a finger on it.
Mm.
But seeing that and then interacting down in the South of all places,
Mm.
some things were made clear to her. And then there are other people that kind of were raised in situations where they just didn't have various ethnicities around them or in their schools. So they have a superiority complex because all they know is what they've seen and it was a normal thing. So to see something differently, they didn't really know how to take it. Some take it and grow, and some kind of just take it and have that superior complex that they are better because they are of a different ethnicity than others.
Question: that superiority complex that you're talking about, because they grew up around a certain thing or around certain people, do you think that that complex was learned, um, or just something, that they developed as they got older? Where do you think that, where is it rooted?
Again, that goes into kind of where you were, because some of it is learned as you go and things you'll see your parents and your family and the communities do, but some of it is taught from home. And if you aren't exposed to all these different ethnicities and seeing them treated equally, you're going to take something being better than the other. Even when you look on most TV shows, you can see a disparity of how people are being treated and a disparity of who's being awarded and who's being thrown in jail. Taking it back to the drug wars, you saw all these African Americans being locked up for drugs and opioids, but now turn the tables to now, and now they want to treat everybody dealing with opioids because they don't think it's a problem. It's just
Hold on. Don't speak on that too much. Now I need my job. Don't speak on that.
don't worry. I know you need your job. I'm going to charge you for this interview.
I gotta treat those people. I gotta treat those people. um, Seriously though, how there was something you said I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you. About. I got a question for you for one from one of the viewers. Um, so knowing what you know, if you saw someone of a higher ranking abuse power, as they often do, and blatantly railroad someone's career, would you join in helping that person call it out, or would you remain silent and mind your business?
The way I was raised, I'm going to say something about it. I try to help that person out. But the difference in me and a lot of people is I'm at a rank where I can do that, and it'll take a little bit more to take my rank than it would someone that has less rank than I would. So I kind of got more of a stick to swing when going to fight for someone.
But you definitely would fight.
I would, because, it could be me in a situation.
So do you just help that person with what they're doing, or do you actually, address the people that are participating in the wrongdoing, or
I have
both?
no issue. I have no issue speaking my piece to anyone. But if I were going to do anything, I would first help that person specifically. So when that second phase comes where everyone's getting addressed, that person won't get lost in the shuffle and they won't get peed on.
They won't get what?
Peed on.
Peed on.
Yes.
Sincerely, me Bree said, "I love soldiers like him."
Tell her we love supporters like her as well.
Her husband is in the military. Um, let's see. What I can't remember that other thing I had for you, but I wanted to get back to the kneeling real quick. I gave my interpretation of what the kneeling means. As someone in the military, what does that, when someone takes a knee, as someone in the armed forces, what does that mean?
Taking a knee is pretty much a sign of respect. If you're giving respect, like at a ceremony of a fallen soldier or something, when you go to pay your respects, you'll take a knee. If someone of higher ranking is talking and you kind of hit a point where you're at fatigue and it's not a situation where everyone's sitting down, they're standing, you take a knee. If you're in a formation for a while and that's your mission at the time, you wouldn't sit down, you would take a knee. It's a sign of respect, and it also shows that, you're capable of going on because you're not flat on your butt or you're not on your back.
Mm. And what about in battle? Would it still be appropriate if you saw one of your soldiers taking a knee in battle?
You take a knee because you may be tired, you may be restless, and you need that break, but you take that knee so at a moment's notice you can snap back into it and be able to cover your battle buddy's back so they can make it home just like you. You can't readily get up and fight in a moment's notice if you're sitting on your butt or you're laying on your back.
So keeping that knee, um, it not only represents a sign of like needing that rest if you need it. It also, would you say, it shows a sign of strength because you're always on guard. It's
It shows strength, it shows respect, and it also gives you an opportunity to get yourself and get your people together and be prepared for anything that can come at a moment's notice.
okay. So, um, what were your thoughts on? Let me say Colin. Thank you. What were your thoughts on Colin taking the knee and the other athletes that followed his lead? Um,
When
during that
everyone
time.
made it a big issue that he was sitting down, he reached out to someone in the military. It was military personnel that told him it would be more respectful to take a knee versus sitting down.
So, were there any conversations like amongst like anybody that you were around about what he was actually taking that knee for and what it stood for?
Of course it was, because people don't fully understand, or they didn't see it because they really didn't want to see it, and then they fell a victim to the groupthink in which they didn't research or ask. They just fell in line with someone else said.
Okay. Whew. So it would be safe to say, well, let me not say that. When I was talking to you earlier, I was telling you about, my take and the irony of this police officer putting his knee in Mr. Floyd's neck, and that being the thing that caused his death. Knowing what that knee represents right now. Um, what do you think about that whole situation? Do you have any thoughts on that, or?
That's a wide open conversation because it could be seen as a couple of different ways. And I mean, if someone really delves into it, they could look at it as like the ultimate sign of disrespect
Mm-hmm.
and kind of a slap in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Because if that was on his mind that he was mocking the whole Colin Kaepernick and the movement, it could be taken as this is me killing your dream or your thoughts of equality.
Mm-hmm. You said different ways, so I hear you saying that. Do you think that if, let's say, he took it as, we're taking it as a sign of disrespect, um, do you feel like at this point, um, not the cops' labor, but that George's labor was in vain?
Mm,
Even with the assuming that we're looking at this as, him doing that, the knee specifically, as disrespect, do you think that any good is going to come out of that, or that any good has come out of that as of yet?
I think that story is still yet to be written. It's based on the next phase of what's to happen after he had passed. What is people going to do? What are people going to do with this?
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to stand up and fight for what's right, or are they just going to put on a show for a couple of days and then disappear?
Right.
So, I mean, if it goes and it continues and people continue to force the issues to where things have to at least be talked about and people made more aware and things are brought to light and addressed, then it'd be a positive thing. But as soon as if it falls out and falls off immediately after, then it was done in vain. Because now his life was taken and is gone for nothing. It's just another person dying at the hands of an officer with no real repercussions or nothing to stand behind it. MLK was murdered, but even after his murder, conversations continue, reforms change, and even to this day, people still speak of him. Would this be the same case, or is it just going to be something else that people forget about by July?
So you mentioned we've been talking about the officers. What is your take right now on law enforcement?
Be more specific with that question.
The role that law enforcement plays in what's going on right now.
I think law enforcement has like a greater impact on things than people think, because a lot of the rioting, so to speak, and the looting didn't start until the police showed up with the extra gear for those situations. Because in a lot of cases where the police were just there, no one cared. It was just a peaceful protest. But then when you throw in the mace and the blackjack and tear gas and all those things, you're exciting a crowd. You're going to make someone want to do something. It's just like backing someone into a corner. They're going to want to do something, or they're going to want to move. They're going to want to rebel.
Okay.
It's even if you go and look at some of the pictures from the soldiers being in Washington, the soldiers put the rioting gear down and they just stood there.
That happened today, right?
If I'm not mistaken, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And people were peacefully just doing their thing. No issues.
Do you I think I cut you off. Go ahead.
Nah, you good.
I'm gonna say this based on me. Knowing knowing what I do you think it's fair um for people to put all officers in one category? Do you think that what everything that's being said now is an accurate depiction um, of what LEOs are as a whole?
I don't think it's fair to put everyone in the same boat, but at the same time, I hold all officers accountable for these officers, because these thoughts and these feelings didn't occur overnight. I'm pretty sure there was something that There's always a way to root out bad apples. So if you're going to be, or you're proclaiming to be one of those good ones, why don't you go ahead and put forth that effort to show that you're a good one, to get rid of the bad apples? You're an officer. You're supposed to be a leader in the community. You're supposed to protect the community. So protect them.
So those of us that do that, should we be held accountable for what officers are doing in other states across the country?
You shouldn't be held accountable, but at the same time, in an organization like yours, it's not hard for you to run across people from multiple states at some point. So it's pretty much a network. And it leads back to, you know who's good, you know who's bad, you know who has issues, and you know who has racial tendency. Something can be said. Something can be brought to light before it's too late. It's just like if you see somebody going on a killing spree, you're not going to just close your eyes and wait for someone else to do something. At least you can make a phone call to say, hey, this person has this going on.
So once that is done, once something is said, do you believe that that relieves the person of any liability?
No, it doesn't relieve them, but it's a better start than doing nothing.
Okay.
Law enforcement, you're supposed to watch out for the community. It should be like one of your primary things. The primary shouldn't be to arrest people. You're supposed to help.
Nah, I'm arresting everybody. Nah, I'm playing.
Ain't nobody worried about that. Your hands ashy.
I got another question for you from a viewer. Can you ask him if he thinks there's a difference between people of color killing each other versus other races killing people of color?
Say that
Ooh.
again.
Do you think, wait a minute, do you think there's a difference between people of color killing each other versus other races killing people of color?
Overall, there is no difference. Killing is killing. But when it comes down to the ramifications of the killing, yeah, there's a difference. Because when you have black on black crime, they're going to throw the book at you. But when you have, say, white on black crime, the narrative changes.
Okay, hold on one second. So before we actually get to the consequences of the actual acts, what do you think? Because you kind of addressed this earlier. So, what is taking the consequences out of it? What do you think about? What's the difference between a black person killing a black person versus a white person killing a black person?
Mm, as long as it's not racially charged, it's all the same.
But what if it is racially charged?
Then it creates a difference because it's one sided. Because it's not necessarily an issue between those two people, it's an issue with a person towards a group. It's just like if me and you get into an altercation, that's an altercation between me and you.
Well, you know who gonna win that, but I'm just saying, go ahead, finish your statement.
I know I will because I'm assuming you have corns, you wear little shoes. So that situation is specifically between me and you. If I go and turn around and have a situation with all women, then that's completely different. I'm taking out something that I have against all women on you. So it's not an issue with you per se. You're just something that I can easily put my hands on versus all women.
Okay. You know, that's another conversation, but I digress.
You can digress. Just quote me and put it on my tab.
All right. Before we let this caller go, do y'all have any other questions? I might have skipped. We have the National Guard up here at my job with their trucks right outside our doors. Um, if you are asked to go out, if you are called upon in the midst of all this mayhem right now, are you going? Do you have a choice?
Do I have a choice? I really don't have a choice. I have to go.
You have to go.
Hmm.
Um, can they get in Article 15 for kneeling as soldiers?
Not if they're not if they're not going against the mission and what's going on.
Okay, do this for me. What is an Article 15? And then finish your answer.
Article 15 is pretty much punishment for something that you've done and you've kind of gone through. It can ultimately lead in you getting kicked out of the military, loss of pay, like extra duties, duties outside of work duties, just of variations of punishments that could be given to you based off of the offense.
So it's like a charge.
You, you could say that. It's
Okay.
something that they use to kick people out
Okay.
if need be.
Okay. So going back to, can they get an Article 15 for kneeling, let's say at one of these protests, if they're out there, you know, in official capacity?
I would say no, but it's also based on who's there and who's in charge. Because as long as they're getting the job done and doing what it is they're being asked to do,
Mm-hmm.
which is just making sure that there is no real civil unrest and nothing crazy happening, there wouldn't be any issue with it. Now, if people start doing the most and they're there to stop people from doing the most and kind of water down the situation and this person's just sitting there taking a knee, it's possible that they might try to pursue Article 15 because at that point, he's leaving his military brethren to the left and the right of him to be attacked from his blind side because he decided to sit down. So it could be an issue in that aspect.
Someone in here is saying something. I'm gonna say I'm gonna answer this, and I'm gonna give it to you. Um, do you once you became enlisted, did you lose your right to protest?
No.
Okay. I want to say,
You can still do those things, but you can't go out there in uniform. If you're going to do something, you do it in your regular civilian clothes and you leave all military affiliation alone.
um, I know for us, regardless of whether or not we're in, you know, badged up, credentialed up, whatever, um, we can we can participate in peaceful protests, but none of the protests can be political based. We can't participate in anything dealing with politics. Um, and I'm wondering, um, once you know you guys boss decided that he wanted to bring y'all in, if you were to protest there, would that be considered a political protest with his involvement or no?
If it's as long as it's something peaceful and you're not giving or showing any affiliation, you'll be fine. It turns into a different situation when you have on that uniform and your organization that you're associated with is brought into play, because you are not the face of the military. You are not the spokesperson for the military. When it comes down to things of that nature, someone is appointed to speak on behalf of that group that is there. So in that sense, you can get into a big situation going to a protest in uniform. If you're out of uniform, no affiliation, and it's peaceful, I mean, you can go and show your support because you're a soldier, but you're still a human being and you still have rights.
Okay. So it's funny that you say that based on conversations that we've had. So as a soldier, um, you might not be able to answer this. So as a soldier, you you feel like you still have all of your rights as a soldier.
The majority. You can still, you still have them. You just have to be more cautious with what you say and what you really can do. Because I mean, the way some people go out and they badmouth the president and X,
Mm-hmm.
Y, and Z, that's not something that we really can get into. Because I mean, you wouldn't badmouth your boss and think you can get away with it.
Right.
So it is. There are some limitations, and then depending on kind of the levels or if you have any type of clearance or things of that nature, things might go a
Right.
little different.
Right. So that was one of the questions that I wanted to ask because I know on our end it seems that we do actually have to forfeit a lot of our I'm gonna say personal rights. Um, and it actually has something to do with some of the things that you said. Certain things you can and can't say in certain situations and certain environments. Um, on this end, whether we are at work or not, we are still considered on duty at all times. Um, is it the same in the military? Because I know you said even if you know you can go if you don't have your uniform and all that stuff on, like you can participate. Are you guys still considered? Well, you're gonna be a military person regardless, but um, do you
Yeah,
have freedoms? Do you when you don't have that uniform on? Do you feel like you have all of your the freedoms that you would have as a civilian?
you're a soldier 24/7.
Right.
So if they called right now and said I needed to be gone in a few hours, I'm gone in a few hours.
Right.
So wherever I'm at in the world, I have X amount of time to get back where I need to be. My bags are already packed, and I'll be on a plane going to wherever they tell me to go.
But as far as your affiliations, your associations, the things that you decide to do with your free time, um, what extracurricular activities, as long as they're legal, that you decide to participate in, are you guys given that liberty to do um, what you want to do freely?
As long as they're legal and there's nothing degrading or racist or sexist or anything of that nature that could go against the beliefs of the military, that would affect it. all of that stuff you have to stay away from. You even have to stay away from businesses that don't really comply to the proper treatment of everyone. Each base has a blacklist of businesses that we can't go to.
Hmm. So again, that goes back to, do you feel like you have all of your freedoms? Because it seems like, and I'm asking those questions because I think we have another person in here too. Um, Cool
Well, when it
Channel
comes
said,
to,
hold up, one question for you. They're saying it, but I'm asking you, is adultery considered grounds for dismissal?
yes,
So they're saying the Army is definitely a contract to perform, and at any time the Army can modify the policy. And they're saying basically that you shouldn't be doing anything that would be considered immoral.
yeah, there are rules and regulations set into place.
That's interesting with the adultery. That's real interesting. Um, wow.
But see, with things of that nature, is some of those things get changed because in the past the soldiers were taken advantage of.
Mm,
So you can have a soldier being married to their spouse that's not in the military. So if the spouse is doing all of this stuff, if they were married for X amount of years, and even though they cheated or did wrong and they got a divorce, they would still be entitled to some of that soldier's member retirement when they got to that point.
mm,
So some things they try to change to try to help combat people taking advantage of people in the military. And that's even down to how they do child support. Because, you know, if they have no choice but to pay child support coming from one of these soldiers isn't cheap. It's not like the $10, $15 you get from somebody on the street. The military is going to take care of those kids. So they hit them with big tickets.
I think that might not be a bad thing. Um, so this, I guess, this is my last thing. Just
You said that 50 minutes ago.
yeah, and I might say it again. Um, to me, it seems like in order to get into certain positions or be in a place where you can try to affect change, for you, for us to try to affect change, we have to give up some of those um, civil liberties in order for us to try to be able to go out and help other people. Why? And you may not agree. If you do agree, why do you think that you have to give up so much in order for you to be in a place where you can help other people?
Oh, that's an easy question because it all boils down to respect. If you can get something done, but you have less resources, that means you're more capable. So people will look at you differently and actually be willing to follow you. You can take MLK for example. He didn't have the most, but he took what he had, and he became one of the most influential people ever. And he gave up a lot.
Right. So, if there was anything that you can leave the viewers with, I told you I was going to ask another question, so you might as well just go ahead and run with it. So, if there is anything, this is the last one though. Um, if there was anything that you can leave the viewers with, um, as far as what's going on right now, um, and what you think we can possibly do um, to affect change. What would that be? Because you said, people tend to get hyped up, and I kind of said something like that earlier. Something happens, we get hyped up. There's outrage, and then we calm down. It's almost like a repetitive cycle. So, what if you can leave some words with us? What would those words be as far as you know passing the baton or um, just keeping the movement going?
Well, for practice what you preach. I mean, if you're going to be passionate and really care, show support for people while they're living. Be consistent in the fight for change, not just when someone dies.
Mm.
And, more importantly, take situations like this and have those uncomfortable conversations with people of other races that say they don't fully understand and quit lying to them. Be honest and be blunt. Like, it's the only way people are gonna really learn and understand if you're being honest and blunt, not trying to sugarcoat everything and try to fake the funk. It's not genuine, and no one's really gonna care. You can tell the difference when you can see the pain and the emotion in what someone's saying versus them just trying to make you feel good.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah, I know.
Man, giving you that hot fire like Dylon. Could have been a doctor.
Dylan. Well, I do appreciate you taking up this time. I will send you.
It's a whole power episode you have me on this.
I appreciate you taking up this time with us. They said thank you for your service.
Thank you for your support.
Even though you're not working right now, y'all are not working. Um,
That's because it's 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm supposed to be asleep. Thank you for that. But here I am doing my due diligence for the community.
oh, we appreciate you. We appreciate
Pat
you.
myself on the back.
Stop it. Um, but thank you for giving us your precious time. Thank you for that. You can bill me later.
Oh, don't worry. It's going to come across in a few minutes.
All jokes aside, like appreciate your lending us some of your expertise, and sharing some of your military experiences with us, um, as well as some of your personal beliefs about what's going on right now. So,
Amen.
hallelujah. So I'm gonna get you off my phone, okay?
Great. I really appreciate that, ma'am.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much. They said thank you. Thank you. Thank you. They're saying thank you.
Y'all have a marvelous night.
Boy, bye.
Wow. Such language.
Bye.
Bye, Felicia.
Oh, shoot. um, yeah, so I wanted to just get another tape because we've been having conversations today, and I wanted to give you guys another take. In case y'all didn't know, I wasn't just talking to some random military person. That was my brother, so that's why the trash talking had to commence. Um, but just seeing some of the stuff um, that I've seen, some of the things that he's seen. I just felt like it was important to just come and have some conversations tonight because the stuff that we're seeing right now is not the norm. It's not stuff that we're that you see every day. Um, and like I said, I can just, oh, it's all in the way. I can just say for me, um, what's happening right now is definitely there is a precedence that's being set, and um, like I said, I've been on this for almost 20 years, and I have yet to see this type of stuff take place this quickly. um, I've Cool BJ. I agree with that. That's what I said from the beginning. It's definitely a biblical, some spiritual stuff going on. Um, but from it's a good look. It's a good look. One of the things that he touched on, and I asked that question because we share our experiences and stuff that we have. Um, and like I said, I've spent a lot of time trying to be that person that I know this Joker did not. Hold on, y'all. Whoa. Oh, I thought he was sending me a bill. I was like, hold on. Okay. um, but it's hard. People say, just why don't you go and just say this, or why don't you just go and do that? And you do those things, and like I said, oftentimes you end up getting punished or blackballed, or just a lot of retaliatory stuff that goes on. um and it's hurtful. It's hurtful. And it's I don't know, because I have to be careful what I say too. You find yourself in a place where you want to walk away, and I've seen people say, "Oh, why don't you just walk away?" But if you walk away, then who's left to fight for those people? Who's left to try to at least, you know, make situations just? Who's there to point out those injustices? Who's there? Who's left? Um, and then to put different people in different situations, and you want them to go along with things that they don't necessarily agree with, like we were talking about earlier. um, that's a battle all in itself. That's a day-to-day battle, actually, all in itself. um, so what we were talking about was the struggle. There's a struggle there, and it's almost like you have somewhat of an internal conflict, because you are dealing with the person that you are and what you stand for. um, but then you also have to look at this harsh reality, and you have to decide, is it worth this continuous fight? Because you get the bruises, you get the scars, you get the abuse, um, you get the mistreatment on a daily basis, and then to be put in a situation where you are trying to protect and serve, and to have the same people that you're trying to protect and serve to turn on you, because they're overgeneralizing and putting everybody in one category. um, it's definitely a conflicting thing. Definitely a conflicting thing. um, but it's what happens. It's what happens. It's what happens. So, and you guys see it. I mean, we see it. We see it every day. um, Even up through these streets, we see it. And it's a battle. It's a battle. But I think, like I said, I've been in this system for a long time, and I have yet to see anything happen like this. So for me take away the looting and the destruction of property and all that stuff, I have to take that out of the equation. Just seeing people come together um, and trying to make things happen, this is something that I wondered if I would ever see that, because that's like literally something that I strive for on a daily basis, just trying to get people to come together for the greater good. So to see this, and like I said, it's a tragedy that this had to happen to George Floyd for these things to start taking place. But I still feel that need is going to become a proverbial thing. Like, rather than people saying, you got your foot on somebody's neck, now it's about you having your knee on somebody's neck. And I feel like that's gonna leave an everlasting impression for everybody. Nobody's gonna forget that. That's gonna be something that goes down in the history books, because I feel like that that knee. Um, oh shoot, y'all, my bad. I gotta try to get my charger in here real quick. That knee. That need, to me, is like it changed history right now. It changed things, and I just, I just, this time, this moment right here, where we were reading our history books before when we were in school, and we read about different things that were happening, for the next generation to come, and the next generation, we are now going to be those people that are going to be written about in the history books. And I think that it's up to us to determine what our legacy is going to be, um, when it comes to those books. We have a chance now to, we can't rewrite history. You can never go back and rewrite, but you can definitely play a role in how this story is written from this point on. And I think that knee is symbolic. Things started with the knee, and ultimately it's going to end with that knee. And we're going to see what happens in all of this. But I do believe that there's a major shift. The pendulum has swung um, in a whole other direction. I think it's going to sit there for a while. I think it's going to sit there for a while. Not so much to fix what's going on, but I think that it's almost like an opportunity to try to right some wrongs that are taking place. So, um, do you feel like there's a more political battle happening behind the scenes involving the upcoming presidential election? I think there's always some stuff going on behind the scenes when it comes to politics. Um, Everything in government is based on politics. I mean, it is what it is. Um, I think that some things are being done to cater to a specific group of people. Um, and honestly, I also believe that it's going to backfire. I think that it has backfired at this point. And I think that things that may have been done to try to, get a rise out of people, it's going to get that rise, but it's not the rise that people were expecting. I think that the rise that's coming out of this is going to be something that makes people make sure, is going to ensure that they actually go out and vote. If younger people ever needed a reason to go out and vote, this is giving them a reason. And the difference between them and us right now, not saying I'm old, but the difference between them and us right now, they have that, what's happening right now is almost like they're getting an adrenaline rush from it. And they, I think they're a bit more consistent because and persistent because this is new to them. You know, we've been here. We done lived some of this stuff. Like, been there, done that, wrote a book about it. It's not the same stories that our ancestors had, but you know, we've all experienced our own stuff, and for them, this is more of a new thing. This is becoming like their new norm, and I think they're up for the fight. So, like I said, I hey, you woke them up, and now you're gonna have to deal with whatever comes with waking them up because these young people are not playing games. They are not playing games. But I feel like we are ruining these protests and turning them into arson and looting to show how weak of a leader Trump is while being backed by donations. Oh, I'm gonna tell you what my thought is on that. Honestly, um, this Antifa thing, they could be responsible for some of the stuff, but I don't believe that they're the only ones that are responsible. I think it's easy to put the blame on that one particular group. Um, but do I think that they're doing all of this stuff? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's like it tends to lean on, you know, it's the left side doing this. Well, when it comes to stuff like this, to me, there is no right or no left. It's people that want to come and they want to be distractions. These are the provocateurs that, you know, were mentioned in history. Um, some people want to be known as rebels. I showed people the other night that some of the channels, some of the YouTube channels that were doing the most live streaming of the riots, they were actually sponsored by Russia. So I think there are a lot of things that come into play with the whole situation. Just like the young lady caught the ladies that were writing on the building, spray painting the building, and they were putting Black Lives Matter up there, and these were Asian women, and I know good and darn well they're not part of Antifa. So I think there are several different things that come into play. I think some people are opportunists and they see an opportunity to go out and steal. I think some people see an opportunity to um, try to derail some of the progress that's being made just because they don't like change. Um, I think it's just a lot of things that have come into play and that will continue to come into play when it comes to this. But ultimately, more than anything, you got to exercise the rights that you have, and one of those rights is voting later, um, and being informed about who you're actually voting for. Today was a good day in Cali with the mayor, police captain, soldiers taking a knee. The protesters trying to make it peaceful with the chants, playing music, doing the Cupid shuffle. Oh, I saw that. I saw that. I saw that. And the thing is, people can generally get along. It's when the negative people come in and they try to interrupt that because they don't want people getting along. They don't want to see, you know, people working with each other. That's not what they want to see. Adrian, how are you? That's not what they want to see. That's disrupting, you know, their inner peace or something. They just don't want to see that. And for me, when I see these protests, I mean the real protests, and I see all these people laying down, saying I can't breathe. When I see that diverse group walking across a bridge, when I see even, you know, when they're starting to gas people, and I see other people like helping each other clean their face and get this stuff out of their eyes. The thing that they're trying to do, I mean, that's the stuff, like we seeing a lot of that stuff on the news, but I see so much more cooperation. The things that they really don't want to show, well, they're showing a little bit more of it now, but those are the things that I'm seeing. I'm seeing, someone of a different color fall on the ground, and you got everybody trying to help that person up so they won't get trampled. I'm seeing, like water. Somebody said something about water. People going out, making sure that everybody's staying hydrated. I'm seeing medics out there making sure that the protesters are good, regardless of what their ethnicity is. That's the kind of stuff that I'm seeing, and this is the stuff that a lot of people don't want to see. The people that want to keep the confusion going. But I feel like whether they like it or not, it's coming. It's coming. Sam Cooke already told y'all the change was gonna come. It's been in the making for several years. It seems like it just slowed down for a minute, and it was kind of stagnant for a little while. But I think it's picking back up, and it's time. It's time. I think that some things happen to show us how things could be. You know, like y'all didn't want to get up and do what you had. Y'all didn't want to put any energy. Y'all didn't want to put any effort into what was going. Like, look, we're gonna go ahead and let all this stuff happen, so that when you get somebody that's really doing some stuff, not no knocking nobody, but you get somebody that's really doing some stuff, you'll appreciate it. You will appreciate it. And like I said, I'm hoping that by the end of this week, all this, the violent part, the stuff that's being done with malicious intent, I'm hoping that stuff comes to an end, so that the people that are really trying to get messages across, they need to be heard. Those messages really need to be heard. And so I'm looking for a shift in that as well, for some of this foolishness to calm down. And we saw that today. We saw that today. Those people sitting out in D.C., and I mean just sitting down on the ground like they were at an auditorium or something, and they were focused. They were locked in. Um, and that's where we need to be at right now. So, you know, I think if we exercise a little patience, and I know people don't like to hear that, but let the prosecutors do what they're gonna do with this, because with life and time, all things will be revealed. So let them do what they're gonna do, so that things can be done right. Because at the end of the day, we still want things done decent and in order. Um, and we still have to remember, no matter how upset we get, we can't, want due process for one and not want it for somebody else. Regardless of the things that we've seen that have been wrong, and when they didn't do it for this, when they didn't do it for that one, at the end of the day, we should still expect and demand due process for everybody, regardless of who it is. So, um, everybody, hopefully, they'll have their day in court, and we'll see what the outcome is. But I think right now, just having to sit around or sit at home or wherever these people are, I'm speaking on the officers right now, sitting around and not knowing what kind of fate is waiting for them right now. Um, Knowing the feelings that people have towards their actions right now, seeing the different communities, states, countries come together and rally behind this man whose life didn't mean much to them, his life didn't matter to them, to see the outcry from a nation that their malicious and careless behaviors have resulted in. I want them to sit and just revel in this for a minute. I want them to feel every piece of this protest. I want them to feel every piece of hurt, not physically. I want them to mentally, emotionally, I want them to feel what they did to this man and what they did to his family, his daughter, um, to the nation as a whole, because what they thought they were doing, it was the complete opposite. And they need to be able to witness that. What their lack of, no, I won't say lack because they made a decision. How the decisions that they made, how those decisions affected everybody else. They need to sit in that for a minute. Because what that's doing for them right now, they're scared. They don't know which way to turn. They don't know whether to answer the doorbell. I'm pretty sure they're not sleeping at night. They're probably not sleeping during the day either. They don't know. They don't know. And that fear, that unknowing, that's the same thing that George was feeling when he was on that ground. So they're going to have to deal with that. They're going to have to sit in that. And one thing's for sure and two things for certain, once they get locked up, there's a certain degree, and it may not seem like it to other people, but trust me, there's a certain degree of security that comes along with that, because they know that there's always going to be somebody there to protect them. And they'll probably sleep better in there than they're sleeping right now. So let them eat cake out here on the outside, because I promise you, they are not getting any rest right now. One thing about George, he's resting in peace. He's probably kicking a bobo with his mama right now. But these guys that are left behind, that did all this stuff, the ones that chose to remain silent, oh, they feeling every bit of this. They are feeling every bit of it. And even though George was the one that had the knee in his neck, I know that every single second of these 24 hours, they feel like they have a knee in their necks. I can tell you they probably feel like they are suffocating right now. They don't feel like they can breathe. They're trying to figure out how to get this knee off their neck. A knee that'll never be removed from their neck. So, just we have to practice some patience. We got to be patient. Let these things work out. Let them work out, because I just refuse to believe that that his death is in vain. I think his life and his death served the purpose. Hey Laura, how you doing? I think his life and his death served a purpose. And now he knows. We may not know, but now he knows what that purpose is. So hopefully it'll give some people some kind of relief in knowing, y'all, they are not resting. They are not resting. And they're sitting up watching these riots on TV, hoping that nobody shows up at their door. And I'm going to hope the same thing too, because I want them to be able to go through this process so that justice can be served. They definitely need to do that. If they don't need to do it as civilians, they for darn sure need to do it as former officers of the law. Because officers, regardless of what type of agency you work for, local, county, state, federal, private, whatever entity you work for, people need to know that there are consequences to their actions when they decide to operate outside of the law. When they decide to use that badge as a shield of power that allows them to just go out and just wreak mayhem and havoc on different communities, like whatever community they choose at the time. They need to know that those things are not going to continue to happen. And when they do happen, they are going to be held accountable expeditiously. Because that's the only way that this kind of stuff is going to stop. When people know that they're going to be responsible for their actions, that they're going to be checked, things start to change. They straighten up, they tighten up, or either they quit. I'll take either one of those. I'll take either one. But in the future, and I'm going to go ahead and get off here, the question that I would like to ask my man, since you had a problem with Colin Kaepernick taking a knee, since you had a problem with him kneeling, you didn't want him to kneel. So this guy over here, he did the kneeling for you. And you see how that worked out. He's not getting any sleep either. You see how that worked out. So I'm going to ask you, man, would you take the SOB's kneeling? Or would you rather have Mr. Chauvin's kneeling? I'm going to answer for you. I'll take Colin for 300, Alex. So leave people alone. Stop bullying people. You should have let him kneel. We wouldn't be going through this right now. When you say they, are you talking about the other officers? I am feeling like there's more people involved, including so-called friends I am from, and I live in Houston, Texas, Southside. When you say they, are you talking about other officers? Yeah, the other officers that are involved in it, and just the officers as a whole. Law enforcement as a whole. People don't realize law enforcement extends way beyond police officers. That's just one component. They extend far beyond that. And it's just everybody's going to have to hold the next person accountable. And when you don't do that, when you're operating in a nature that is not conducive to your job description, then you have to, you're going to have to deal with the consequences of whatever your actions are. And unfortunately, other people got to deal with the consequences of your actions as well. I think, Laura, I see your comment about the earth being divided. But that goes back to what I was saying. I believe, just my belief, excuse me, what George's purpose in life and death. I think that his purpose was to help bring some of us together. And I would say at this point, I think that the world is more united now more than ever. Even in spite of the people that are coming trying to cause mayhem and that kind of stuff, and the ones that want everybody to think that everything is just shot straight to hell, I feel like we're closer right now. When you go and look at these videos, when you watch these live streams, when you see these pictures, yes, there are still some people that have some hate in them. We have not gotten rid of that. But as far as people banding together and seeing that, you know what, I know y'all been saying this, but I don't know, to actually get people to, you know what, this some BS. Like, I didn't know it was this deep. Like, to really get people to see that. And not just see it, but to see that some of them actually feel it. And you can tell by some of the people's just, they're passionate about the whole situation. You know, like my brother and I, we were talking about, somebody coming back. And I don't know if I have it or not. um, and posted something about Colin Kaepernick because he was saying that, all before he was thinking that, he was just an attention seeker when he was taking the knee, and he didn't understand. Um, but now after all the stuff, now he sees, now he understands. That's what you would hope comes out of this, an awakening and understanding, that moment of epiphany that just wasn't it just wasn't there. um Here it is. It says, it shows the picture of Kaepernick. See if I can get it. Where's my camera? It shows the picture of Kaepernick kneeling, and then you see Chauvin on the side. It says, this picture was shocking and jarring to me at first. Kaepernick didn't hurt anyone, yet people like me thought he was so disrespectful and an attention whore. Well, now I'm wishing I paid him more attention. The pic on the left, which is the officer, is the one that has no respect for human life. And like I said, I just think everything, just from people having the recordings to people having it from different angles, to even down to the guy that was talking, and he was able to identify on camera what that officer was doing, and the fact that his actions were, being done with the intention of, inflicting harm and or death on George. Like everything fell into place, and this just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. So I have to be optimistic about some things and just believe, just from what I see and the things that I get to witness just on a regular basis. I just feel like something different is going to take place. Something different is taking place right now. Something different is definitely taking place. And it's going to make people think. It may not stop everything. I'm sure it won't stop everything, but it's going to make people think twice, maybe even three times, about doing some of the foolish stuff that they were doing before, because before they didn't feel like they were ever going to be held accountable. But times are changing. So, with that being said, again, I was supposed to be on here about 45 minutes, and here we are going into, Lord knows, during the 2 hours. Oh, Lord, it's over 2 hours. Oh, Jesus, let me get off here. Um, Going on 3 hours. My. Um, let's see. The earth is united contrary to popular belief. They are protesting in China and New Zealand. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That, man, they didn't know. They didn't know that they were going to awaken nation. I'm telling you. Yes, I know that I stay posting all day, up to date on this nation. Y'all, as song said, don't believe me, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch. Who was that? 2 Chainz? Watch. It's some real stuff happening, y'all. And we're a part of it. So, I'm going to keep bringing you this information on this stuff. As more information comes on this case, as more information comes on Breonna Taylor's case, as more information comes on Ahmaud Arbery's case, I'm going to keep bringing you the information on this, because we need to be aware of what's going on. We need to stay aware of what's going on. Sincerely, Bree, I saw the blackout. I actually didn't know about it until this afternoon. And I was going to go live earlier. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll, try to adhere to the little blackout thing or whatever. And then I thought about it. And I'm like, you know what? The people that blackout, that it really makes a difference with, are those people that are more affluential. They have money and stuff like that. So when they don't go and post, then them not posting is costing somebody else money. So that is a real boycott for them. So for the celebrities and stuff, yes, it matters for them because you got businesses counting on those endorsements and stuff like that. So yes, it makes a difference. Um, the artist talking about not releasing any music today, I don't really know. I don't know how much that would affect anything, but I'm not knocking them because at least somebody came up with something. You know what I mean? Um, but regardless of the blackout, I think people still need to be aware of what's going on with this particular situation. That's so that's why I came on. Like, I try to get as close to 12 o'clock um, as I could, and then I just waited 11:30 and went ahead and started going because we still need to make sure that information is getting out. And I think that today, too many positive things happened today for something, you know, something had to be said because today, I feel like today was a very productive day. It was very productive. And that didn't have anything to do with any blackouts. Today was a productive day because people chose to be productive. Um, and just watching the protests and the different demonstrations and people talking and just watching all this stuff, like, I think a lot of people, they're learning a lot of things that they didn't even pay attention to. It wasn't that they were um, trying to overlook things. It was, there is a such thing as unconscious bias, and the only way to deal with that is to address it, to acknowledge the things that you may be having certain biases towards, and sometimes you just have to wake up. Sometimes things have to be said that sparks something. You're like, what, dog, I am doing that. And I think that's what's happening right now. This is the great awakening. I think that is what's happening right now, and I'm excited to see what happens in the future. See, I started that, and it's 7-7. I was told. Oh shoot, 7-4 is before 7-7. My 4th of July spending money. Okay, and that's on their end as far as the blackout. I think for the people that have that kind of money like that, I think that that'll really hit them because whenever it comes down to boycotting, um, when you're boycotting, if you're not hitting folks in the pocket, they really don't hear you. So I think for them that'd be something major, and he's very influential amongst other artists and celebrities and stuff like that. So, and you see people took notes. I've been seeing blackout stuff um for most of the day. So you know but somebody has to put the information out that's going on right now. Why 7-7, not 7-4? Now I have no idea. I would have to go and see Ti rationale because he has a rationale for everything. So I'm guessing if you stop at 7-4, people will still make money off that. I have to see what the dates are, but that's still part of a holiday, so people will still make money. I have to see the significance of the 7-7. If anything, I would probably push it back to the 19th. Um, Wait a minute, 7-7. Wait a minute. That's July. Yeah, I have to go do some research on that because I'm thinking maybe you should center stuff around, you know, in June. Me and my brother were talking about that. How focusing on trying to keep things around Juneteenth and bringing awareness to Juneteenth, because a lot of black people aren't familiar with Juneteenth. So it seems like it would be, I don't know. I don't know. I can't tell folks how to do their stuff, y'all. Um, because it was already prepared before this happened, love. Okay, okay. Thanks, Laura. They need not prepared. People just do it the week of 4th of July. I don't know. I just, since we're having this great awakening, I think we need to awaken people to the importance of Juneteenth. I'm just saying. But anyway, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, for sticking in with me. I appreciate you guys welcoming my people on here and being respectful. No, Tanya, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I was just saying, it seemed like they were focused something would be focused around June instead of July. Something being focused around June because that's something that's important to us that people tend to overlook. But um, it sounds like something they already had going on. So anything, if it supports us, if it's beneficial to us, hey, I'm here for it. Um, you're welcome, Sincerely Bree. You're welcome, Tasha. Good night, Laura. Good night, Tanya. But yeah, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Especially with me coming on at the last minute. I had to do quick drive-bys. Um, I just say stay woke. Pay attention to what's going on. Um, so that we can come back and have some real dialogue about what we're seeing. And I really want you guys to focus on the change. Like really paying attention to the changes that are going on right now because this stuff is real. This stuff is real. We've been waiting on change for a long time. Um, and sometimes, we get to the place where, I said it before, we've been going through so long that we don't realize that we're starting to see, you know, that shore. It may be way, but we can see it. Um, but we're so used to not seeing it that we're slow to embrace it. So I just say let's just stay abreast of what's going on and keep each other informed of what's going on and just you know hope and pray that everything works out the way that it's supposed to work out in the end and that everything works out for the good. So you guys have a nice night, or should I say morning. Um, and again, thank you for tuning in. I keep looking at that clock because I'm hoping that's the wrong time, but it's not, obviously. But you guys have a good night, and I'll see you next time. Bye.